So this is group 7 here. This is our quality functional design of the Tim Hortons cup, and this is the redesign that we came up with.
So before we started to look at the design, we had to look at the customer requirements and their needs. Uh, so we narrowed it down to the 8 most important needs. Uh, First being we need a strong cup, can't be weak, can't break down, can't like fold easily. Needs to be heat insulated. Obviously, the cup will be holding mostly coffee or tea, all hot liquids. So it needs to have great insulation properties. It can't deteriorate, meaning it can't dissolve the lining on the inside, can't change the flavor of the coffee or tea. The utmost priority though is it being recyclable, whether that means it being biodegradable, renewable, reusable, whatever that means, recyclable. Most important. Um, it also needs to be microwavable. It was on the lower list of the needs, so it's not as important. Um, Another very important need was it needs to fit in the cup holder. It needed to be cheap uh, and simple branding and colors. Not as important, but still up there. Mike?
So the options we explored for the exterior of the cup were a corn-based plastic as well as a rice husk, and both these options are biodegradable. Um, for the liner, we explored a PLA lining, and for the ink on the outside of the cup, we explored a soy-based ink that's biodegradable. Um, we were unable to meet the requirements of a microwavable cup. We had to sacrifice this because it's not one of the highest priorities for the customers. And by sacrificing this, it allows us to meet our requirement of a fully biodegradable cup.
Alright, so now next thing we had to look at is the competitive analysis, which is just looking at our competitors, see how well they are doing in industry compared to us. Um, so when it came to everything, we were pretty average. We weren't behind in any category other than recycle or recyclable, but us and McDonald's are at the same level in industry right now. We did see that the cost of our cup is much better than Starbucks and McDonald's, so that's obviously one of our strong suits is the cost, so we want to keep that at a 5, meaning we lead in industry. Simple branding, that's obviously another strong one for us and Starbucks. You see a red cup, Tim Hortons, you see the green lady, Starbucks logo, you know it's Starbucks. So we both have those going for us. Yeah. And then for our value calculations down here, uh, these represent how important these solutions are in comparison to the customer importance. So we just took the customer importance multiplied by the functional requirements, added these up. These result in the technical importance rating. This gives us an idea of how important we should focus on these and whether we should integrate them in our process and solution. So we found that the rice husk is the most important at 141, and the shape least important. It only had to do with the cup holder, so we didn't really worry about that too much. It's not being changed at all. For the correlation matrix at the top, we didn't find any correlation other than between the corn-based plastic and the rice husk, and that's a negative correlation because we can't use both at the same time. It's either one or the other, so it has a negative correlation. There's no relation between all the other ones since they're all separate categories and separate processes. Like the ink doesn't affect the lining since they're two separate parts and they don't interact with each other at all. Yeah, and then that brings us to the conclusion.
So the highest technical importance ratings were found in the corn plastic and the rice husk, and since these have a negative correlation, we had to pick one over the other. So going with the highest rating of 141, we decided to go with a rice husk for the exterior of the cup. And the next highest rating was the PLA lining. So we decided to implement this as the second change. So since a biodegradable cup is the highest importance for the customer, being at an 8, the two changes we decided to implement were the rice husk for the exterior of the cup and the PLA lining for the liner. And these two have the highest technical importance rating. So we decided to implement them as they would be most beneficial to the customer and satisfying their needs.